looking like this? Tell me, am I looking like this? No, not at all.
Hey, what's going on, you beautiful people? My name's Tie-Dye. I hope you guys had a pretty awesome day today. My day's been pretty awesome so far. So today's actually a pretty awesome day. I have now fully completed my first year of game development school, and I'm done for the year. My college year is done, completed all my work, submitted it, and what I thought I'd do is, since I barely talked about it the entire year, I kind of wanted to sit down and sort of shed some light on what that's actually like, because going into game development school at a college here, I really didn't know a whole lot about it. I heard a couple different things. I heard some great things from some people who went there before, but I haven't really, expressed to you guys what it truly is like, because I feel like for a lot of you guys, you are kind of curious, is it something that you want to do? Maybe it's something you have been leading towards, or maybe it's something you're still very, very curious about. So I thought maybe I could sit down and share some information about that. I have quite a bit to go through, starting off with like schoolwork, and then what it's like living in this kind of environment and the social aspects of it. But I'm going to start with the schoolwork itself, just in case you are someone who sort of stumbled across this video who's just curious, rather than someone who's subscribed and wants to hear pretty much everything. So I guess before I dive into it, I just want to say, if you do have any questions about this stuff, I'm more than happy to answer it in the comments. So honestly, if there's anything specific you want to talk about, leave it down there. If it gets into like a really big discussion, I might just make another video about it, because there is a lot to cover. So hopefully this video isn't too long, but also a like on this video would be greatly appreciated. And also, now that I'm done, I have like a whole week off before I even start working again, so I am just going to be making a lot more YouTube videos, focusing a lot more on this stuff again. And I think you guys will start to understand why I wasn't able to post that many videos over the school year once I start explaining exactly how this all went down. So I actually had 9 classes this semester, which is quite a bit. It's a lot to go through. So essentially I had marketing, pre-production, rendering, intro to games, modeling, animation, cinematics, traditional art, and texturing. So 9 classes compressed into 5 days, and most of them were 3-hour classes with just a bunch of projects and stuff to do. And it was very, very busy. That's one way to put it. Definitely very, very busy. So I definitely want to start off with expressing my opinions on the quality of the teachings, because that definitely ranges a lot, and a lot of people don't really understand how that works, because specifically for me, I learned a lot before I went into college when it comes to game development, right? Like I self-teach myself a lot. I go online, I found my sources, that's how I learn best. So what is it like to actually be in a classroom and be taught it? It really is different depending on the class for a lot of things, such as texturing or modeling or rendering or stuff like that, where I already knew a bunch of it, and a lot of this stuff really is best being taught when you're self-teaching yourself. Usually those classes were literally, you'd go in, and the prof would pretty much tell you a project you had to do, and then you do it. He could help you, he could critique you, but as far as the teaching goes for it, there wasn't too much in-depth teaching. It was more or less guidance and you figuring it out on your own, which I understand for that kind of stuff. But then when we turn to something like Intro to Games, that's essentially a class where we learn the Unreal Engine, and that we go really in depth. It's like a 3-hour lecture on some very, very intense stuff to do with the game engines, and I've definitely learned a lot about that kind of stuff. And then everything else is in between, like cinematics and animation was actually taught by a guy who works at Ubisoft, and he was a super cool dude. He actually worked on For Honor. He helped push that game out a couple of weeks ago, or a month ago, or whenever that came out. So that was really cool. He was a great guy. That definitely went a little bit more in depth and stuff. So some classes definitely let you figure it out mostly on your own, and some other classes go really in depth and hold your hand quite a bit. But the one thing I did realize is that the learning curve just sort of grows exponentially. Like at the start of the year, it was very, very hand-holdy, but by the end of it, it was just sort of like, here's a vague project outline, go create whatever you want to do for this, and make it really, really good. So I think definitely next year it's going to be a lot more like that, which is definitely a lot more my style. I think a lot of people are kind of confused with what you're really paying for. A lot of people think you're paying for a place to be sort of taught everything, which is not the case at all. If you want to go to game development school, or even animation school for that matter, and expect to be taught everything, that's not really what you're paying for. I think you're paying for software, hardware, good critiques, connections, and a learning environment, which are really, really important. I just want to break that down really quickly. Software, you're going to have everything at your disposal, all right? Like everything, and it's going to be actual licenses, so if you want to, you can sell your stuff. Hardware, like every single one of our computers had like 32 gigs of RAM, 980s, like just really, really good dual monitors on every single set. It was really nice. Critiques are infinitely important, of course, whenever you're working on something. Like classmates will tell you it's good, but that doesn't really help you at all, right? Like if you go up to somebody and you say like, well, how can I improve on this? And they say, oh, it's good. Like that, obviously it makes you feel good, but it's not going to make your work any better. Teachers they'll hit you hard, and they'll push you to do better, which is great, and which is exactly what you want to. what you want to have. Connections, that is also super important. I feel like if you go to college and you do good and you graduate, you will get a job because, especially for my class, a lot of my profs are either working in the industry or have huge connections with people in the industry. My main prof for my Intro to Games class, he was actually the one who wrote the course outline for game development school in Ontario, so he knows a lot of people. Like, he has huge connections at Ubisoft and a bunch of different companies, so I can pretty much say right now, if I make it to third year and I keep learning as fast as I am, I'm pretty much guaranteed a job through this guy if I do really well. And then finally, a learning environment is super crucial. So this is one of the main things I definitely wanted to go to college for, because I've never been surrounded by like-minded people as far as this kind of stuff goes. And I have to say, when you're just in a room with like 30 people who are all trying to do the same thing as you, it is super helpful. I know I said, like, for the most part, critiques are more or less like nice comments rather than anything else, but you honestly do get a lot of help from people who are trying to learn the exact same thing and figure out the exact same thing as you, because more or less, like, they're in the exact same position. They want to get a job, they want to learn everything, they got to do it their own way as well. So, you know, being around these people is definitely a great thing. That's not an experience that you're going to have pretty much anywhere else, right? So that's definitely one thing where it's worth the money on its own. That being said, it is very hard. I know I just said that a couple of minutes ago, but it is crazy hard. Like, for example, having a 12-hour workday is kind of like a normal thing. Like, for me to finish this semester, I had a ton of different projects, and for a couple days in a row, I was getting up at maybe like 10:30 and working until 2 in the morning. Like, that's normal. Like, I just accept that. That's all I do. Like, you don't really do a lot of stuff outside of working. That's the thing. You sacrifice a lot of things, and that's why I wasn't able to post too many videos over the span of the year, which I hope you guys understand that. I think you really do, because it was quite busy, but like, you're never truly done. Like, as soon as you're done one thing, you just have to move to the next project, because you have 9 classes and you always have a project in every single class, always, because it's not like a test or a homework based class where you sort of like write things. It is a project based class, because that's the best way that you're going to learn this kind of stuff. So you're always working on a project. As soon as you finish one, you just move to the next one, and considering you have pretty much 9 to do every single week, there's always something else to do, right? There's always work to do, and you always want to improve on things. And it's very difficult, because a lot of the times you can't put 100% of your effort into every single project. So what you have to do is sort of find what you want to specialize in and sort of like just go all in for that. For me, that's definitely modeling and texturing, and I put a lot of the other stuff, like, I still want to do good in everything. I definitely want to learn and do good in everything that I can, but this is the stuff where I'm like going out of my way. Even when I finish everything, I look up, you know, extra techniques on this kind of stuff. So when you have this much work, you definitely need to prioritize things. But yeah, it does get pretty crazy. 12-hour days at least are the norm. It really isn't that bad once you get used to it. Like, first semester was crazy, but you do eventually get used to it. And I was actually having a stream the other day. Well, this was quite a while back, actually, like in the middle of the semester. But I was having a stream, and someone asked me, like, so are you saying that you pretty much sacrifice, you know, 3 years of your life while you're learning this to sort of get a job? And that actually stuck with me quite a bit, because in a sense, it's kind of true. When I'm working on this stuff, I don't have any other time to do anything. Like, I can barely go out and hang out with friends. Like, obviously there is time to do it, but it's very sparingly. There isn't a lot of time to go out and do that. You know, I'm not really meeting a lot of new people or anything like that, but my work is increasing quite a bit. I definitely notice that my skills and my level of work has gone up quite a bit. So I guess that comment was pretty true in a sense, where you are sort of sacrificing 3 years of your life to get a job in this field and get really good in this field. But in a sense, it also makes sense, right? Because you are here to learn. That's essentially why you come to college, right? You come to college because you want to learn, more or less. And I totally understand where that guy's coming from saying that, and it's pretty true. But if you guys are thinking about it, that's just kind of the harsh reality. Like, you should be putting 101% into this kind of stuff, because some people don't, and it really shows. Like, if you want to go to this school or go to any school for game development or animation, like, be prepared to put a lot of time into it, because you really do see the difference between the people who are learning on their own and the people who are completely relying on the lessons in class. Because if you, like I said, if you expect to just learn everything in class, you're not. It's just never going to happen. You're never going to just, like, if you only take what you learn in class and apply that to your project, you're never going to get a job. You're never going to get good grades. Like, you have to go out of your way to learn things online. And if you're not comfortable doing that, I don't exactly know what to say. That's definitely something you should be getting used to. Especially if you want to work in this kind of field, because this is where a lot of people a turn is online. Like, even when I'm done here, as of now, look, I'm looking at a bunch of different resources online. I'm probably going to sign up for a couple online courses or subscription-based courses over the summer and keep learning that way. Like, it's something that you have to learn, and there's a bunch of new programs I want to download and stuff like that. And especially in this field where it's constantly evolving and always changing, you have to always learn, and you can never rely on just learning in class. That is something that I want to make very, very clear. So if you are thinking about this, like, be prepared to learn in class and then learn it all over again online. Like, I'd say I'm learning just as much stuff online as I am in class. Like, for example, in modeling class, one of our final projects was to create a character. So I modeled the character in like a T pose with like the arms like standing straight out like they would just like, I don't know, standing straight up, arms pointing out, just because that's how you typically model someone. But then I taught myself how to rig so that I could rig them into position. Like, we were never given a rigging class, but I figured it out just because I needed to, right? Like, that's a perfect example right there. And that also leads perfectly into another thing talking about self-learning here, which is, when you are sort of given a structure, you tend to want to break it quite a bit, especially if you are used to self-teaching like I am. Because, say, for example, like, you ask your teacher, when are we going to start learning about rigging? And they say, oh, not until, like, second semester, year 2. And you think to yourself, well, this is not something that I necessarily need to wait and learn. I can just go and learn it. So a lot of the times, if you are interested in something, you are just going to go out and learn it, which once again cycles back to the whole learning environment thing where people start sharing information that they learned. And this is like the coolest thing ever, because you don't necessarily have to learn anything in order. It's just good to be in the college because you're just given a chance to just focus on this kind of stuff. More or less, I'm here just because it gives me 3 years to just focus on this kind of stuff. I could never convince my parents, if I was staying home doing anything else, to just say, hey, give me 3 years off and I could learn this all. Because realistically, if I wanted to, I could take 3 years off and I'm sure I could develop my skills to a point where I might be able to get a job without college. Definitely. I think anyone could. But that is not something you can convince people to do. People look down on that. It's just kind of weird. If you can't afford college, like, literally do not worry about it. You can learn all of this stuff online. It's not like a necessity to come to this place at all. But I think it's really encouraging. The people that you meet are great. The professors are going to get you a job. And like, it's interesting. It's definitely not needed, but it just sort of helps everything, and it's just the atmosphere more or less that I really, really enjoy being in, because it really sort of encompasses the idea of this is all I'm focusing on, this is what I'm doing, and I'm just going to practice this over and over and over again, and that's what I really like. That's what I'm looking forward to over the next couple of years. So I guess I'll break down, at least for me, how the system works here. So first year is pretty much an intro to everything. It's more or less like honing our skills in all the courses that I talked about. Once again, that's marketing. Well, actually, marketing was my gen ed, so I'm not going to be taking that ever again. But pre-production, rendering, intro to games, modeling, animation, cinematics, traditional art, and texturing, which are pretty much the courses I take first and second year exclusively. So essentially, first year is you're just learning most of it, and second year you are sort of honing your skills a little bit more, diving into some more deep and intense stuff with that. And it's pretty much the same first and second year, just one sort of an intro and one's a bit more advanced. And then final year, which is really interesting, and that's what I like about this program quite a bit, is actually in third year, what you do is you just have 3 projects, and you work on those 3 projects for the entire year, and then you put that into a demo reel, you show that off to a bunch of people at like Ubisoft and a bunch of other game companies, and hopefully get a job. So third year is essentially super, super important, but the first 2 years is just non-stop practice. Third year is just a full year of execution. I know a lot of programs are different to that, but most programs at least have a third or a fourth year or a final year in general where they sort of prep you for portfolio work and showing your stuff off. But essentially that's what it was like for me. Very, very busy. I'm super happy to be done. Like, this is the first time where I just don't have to like sit here and think, oh god, what's my next project? Now I can actually sit down and focus on YouTube again, put my feet up, relax, finally beat Zelda Breath of the Wild, because god, I've had that for over a month now, close to a month and a half, and I've yet to beat it, which is pretty bad. I should probably get back on that. And yeah, it has just been crazy over the past year. I'm looking forward to next year though, because this first year, a lot of the stuff I already knew going into it, like a lot of the modeling stuff, because they have to make sure everyone's on the same level, just because there's so many different courses and people are coming from so many different backgrounds. Like, some people know a lot about traditional art and nothing about 3D. Some people know a lot about 3D and nothing to do with traditional, and some people know like animation and nothing else and stuff like that. So they sort of have to level it out so that everybody knows everything. And that's pretty much what first year was. Second year is sort of going balls to the walls and everything, and then third year is the final, choose what you want to do, make a portfolio, and get it out there sort of year. So second year is going to be intense. It's going to be crazy. This year was probably nothing compared to that, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to keep learning, and hopefully you guys understand a little bit more about what it is like to be in game development school. Hopefully that clears some things up for you guys, because I definitely didn't know too much about it going into it, but I think this should pretty much wrap it up. I don't think I have too much else to say, but if, like I said, you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comments section down below. Drop a like as well if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new here, guys. I have a bunch more tutorials coming out soon, and some other awesome things I do have planned, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But once again, guys, thank you so much for watching. My name has been Tie-Dye, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya!